NYATT.
Michael. You're the general manager.
I'm the actually the senior manager of customer service manager.
There? How you doing? All right.
Excuse me.
I don't know if you're a quorum or not. Matter of fact, I reminded Randolph and Susan yesterday about the news. I sent them a text. They responded okay. So they don't show it here. Sean, did you get that information on what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. I got it.
Did you go out by area? It's
I had time.
It's
It's
that
on budget.
It's that Entry Street extension. There's a burned out house. And I think the city already sent them a letter to get it cleaned up. But apparently the person on those documents that the trees with garbage is bringing that garbage from my home, dumping it over there. And this is a person living in the county.
Yeah, we had a couple of those. They make sure those on two got $1,000 at the same time.
Now that you still
They even told me him about what they gonna do. We just had the same conversation I had with him. They met with me 3 times. You know, my dad goes to meet you. I talked to him about it. I said, well, you know what to do for him. They even cleaned it up. Well, I feel right now, right there, play what call on that. What you call it? Cadillo. But they didn't want to tell you about it. Use the education bill.
And they put me something that they
They told me he was in Yeah, I told the friend, so I tell her right now. She never said, I tell her, I ask that. How much time you give me?
10 minutes and I'm not discouraged. Can't go do the bidding, I don't have a choice.
Let me stop. I'm going to quick. She wants to show me something, so I'll be right back. Okay.
You must have known me. You should have said, oh, you said right here. Oh.
My committee members have not shown up. We were supposed to start promptly at 3. And anybody who knows me, I believe in getting started on time. That's because I'm a veteran of the armed forces, and they said 3 o'clock, you there for 1:45. But hopefully Mr. Randolph and Councilwoman Youngblood will avail themselves. This is Mr. Wyatt, he's the customer service for Liberty.
Say that again, please, sir. Mr. White.
Yeah, Wyatt.
I heard that part.
Maya.
NYATT.
Yes, that's correct.
I heard
That's
that
correct.
part, but what did you say?
He's the customer services
I got you, yeah.
for Liberty. Well, I tell you what we're gonna do. Since we can't have an official committee meeting until my colleagues show up, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started with some information. We're gonna start off reading some excerpts from the local Time Journal. I heard it say once upon a time, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. But this is not one of those cases. It says, cleaning up Dallas County. By the way, this article was in the weekend of the 7th Time Journal by a young man by the name of Kahila. I haven't lived in Selma very long, and I'm coming up front because some of you all say I talk very soft and you can't hear me, so I want to make sure that I am heard. But over the past few months, I've grown to call this town my home, my new home. One of the first things I noticed about my new home is the trash problem. Sounds familiar? The first time I drove into Selma, I couldn't help but notice the cans, wrappers, and even cardboard boxes that littered the side of Highway 80 on my way into town. As I began to cover Dallas County commissions meetings and the occasional Selma City Council meeting, I learned that others was disturbed by the city's trash problem too. I've heard city councilmen, councilwomen, and commissioners express their frustration with the trash that fills Selma streets. Their frustration is understandable. Elected officials should feel like it's their duty to improve the city, but trash is not a government problem. Let me say that again. Trash is not a government problem, and I emphasize that. It's a people's problem. It is. If the people of Selma wants to see their streets clean, then everyone has to take enough pride in the city to keep it clean. That's true. Selma is a beautiful place. That's also true. Its history, buildings, homes, and people make it very bit as charming as Savannah or Charleston. Been to both places. All the trash makes it difficult for people to see the beauty when seemingly everywhere you look lies an empty beer can, candy wrapper, or takeout box. I encourage everyone who can to participate in Don't Drop It on Alabama beginning next Friday, April the 20th. If you're interested in participating, contact Dallas County Commissioner Valerie Rubin, and I want to acknowledge her being here today to talk about Don't Drop It on Alabama. So Commissioner, if you want to come and talk about that, then that will relieve you. You can go and take care of some other commissioner's business. I won't hold you up. Don't have a mic, Commissioner, so.
That's all right. I can run this way too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening.
Sure, do you need this podium? I can bring this around.
My name is Valerie Rubin. I'm the county commissioner, and I serve District 1. That's Selma, Sardis, Menor, Pleasant Hill, and other areas, some areas in the city. But on this week, beginning on the 20th, April the 20th, that's a Saturday coming up. Don't Drop It on Alabama. This is sponsored by PAIRS. That's People Against Litter. Now, they furnish the bags, and we need volunteers from the city, from the county schools, neighborhood, or whatever group. We have people with their names on signs on Highway 80 that have adopted a mile. We're going to ask them to come out and clean up that mile that they said they adopted. And like the reading was saying, when you on Highway 80, the problem is not all people throwing the trash out the window. It's these trucks, these garbage trucks, and people going to the landfill and it's flying off the trucks. So that's part of the problem. So if you all need any bags, I did bring some with me today. If you want to volunteer and clean your neighborhood up, your community up, we would appreciate it. But what we do, we also work with Keep Alabama Beautiful. And we pick up trash all through the year. The faster we pick it up, they go right behind us and put it back. It's like we're fighting a cause that there's no answer to. But the good thing about it, the commission has hired a litter officer, and we hope that will help. Because once the word get out, we hate to write people tickets, but they won't do right, so we just have to find them, and we're just gonna have to start enforcing these laws. We're gonna need the sheriff, the state troop, we're gonna need them to help us out too. Because it don't make no sense the way our city and county look. People they start illegal dumping sites. They take mattresses, chairs, furniture, and just dump it side the road, and it don't make sense. So I want y'all to help me. If you see somebody dumping the litter, get the tag number. Call it in, call it into the sheriff department, call it into our litter office and let them know. And like I said, I'm glad y'all let me came before you all today. And if y'all need some bags, I got black bags. They say they supply all the material, but they don't. The only thing PAIRS furnishes us with is garbage bags. So if you need some garbage bags, y'all can get some from me, and I can give y'all my number if y'all want me to meet you somewhere or bring you some bags. My number is 334-872-0578, and my cell phone is 334-407-9569. And let us all do what we can to keep our city and county litter-free. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioner.
I have a question.
Okay.
You've hired a litter control officer.
Mhm.
If he doesn't see me put my mattress out on the side of the road, but I have an envelope with my name on it that's stuck to the bottom of it, and he finds that envelope, is he going to write me a ticket? Or is he gonna say, I didn't see Nancy put that there, so I can't write a ticket?
Well, you know, that's been a question that people been asking, because they have got envelope with people names on them. But guess what the people say happened? Somebody came to my mailbox
Yeah.
and got that envelope out there and threw it at the road, so, you know.
All right, the second thing is, how are you going to enforce the fine to make them pay if they really do get a fine?
Well, it's on the book, just like you go to, it's on the book,
I
what I'm saying.
understand that.
It's
but
on the book.
It's on the books.
And they gonna take them,
before.
they gonna take them before the judge, like they take anybody that committed another crime. That's how it work. So, yes.
Hey, good afternoon. May I ask this, years and years ago, my mother and I used to live on the old base, and we lived where there was no houses behind us, and there was a bunch of foliage. So when the foliage was light, we noticed a bunch of black garbage bags behind our house, and someone had the audacity and nerve to dump garbage behind our house. So we called, at the time, the housing. They went out and went into each garbage bag and found out who it belonged to, and they found those people. Why can't that be done elsewhere?
Did they come back and clean it up, the people that they found?
Oh, yes, they did.
Okay. Well, maybe, like I said, we just hired this little officer.
I understand.
And maybe some things he's gonna have
But I
to work
was
out, but he's
that
on.
will, because when she, was saying about envelopes, but if it's deep in the garbage garbage, trust me, no one just
Went to your
picked it
mailbox.
and threw that in there.
Mhm.
And, like I said, we caught them in a big lie.
Mhm.
And it was so sad, I didn't know the people, but they lived like a house or two from us. And it was so sad that they felt because we had that land, they could dump on it. And I just feel that should be able to be found on any garbage with a bag throughout the city, throughout the county, because it is getting bad because people feel they can't dump. I don't know why no one can afford a $12 a month or $15 or $20 a month pickup fee. My mom's 88 and pays hers. I'll be honest, I have a truck since I was 16 and I'm 52 now. I didn't take my own garbage. So I don't understand how other people can't, but at the same time, I'm not saying no one doesn't give it a try. But when I have pointed out garbage to people that work maybe for the city, or I'll say, there's some garbage, they'll look at me like that's my problem, instead of just opening it up, going in, you will find, once that person is embarrassed, or once they're told, this is yours, trust me, it usually doesn't happen again, because that's embarrassing when they're caught in their trouble or in their situation. But I have spent, when I mean thousands, because I do have properties, I have empty properties, and of course they come knocking on my door of the city, they come writing me citations, and of course they know I'm not the one dumping on my own property, but I have to pay someone $300, $400 to pick up on my property what someone else has thrown. And 9 times out of 10, they are mattresses, it's garbage, whatever. Everybody knows who's dumping it, but people play stupid. But I'm the one who has to pay for it, and it does get very expensive.
Yeah. I think people need to be educated. That's the main thing. And we're gonna have to start, we're gonna have to catch them while they're small. You can't wait till they get, big. And then the thing about it, we got landfills. It don't cost you anything.
To go out.
All you gotta do is take it out there to the landfill, and they won't do that.
And it is generations, because I did have a former tenant that stood up on the second floor, and she was complaining about rats and raccoons, and with all respect, I have Section 8. Before I can let someone move in, it has to be perfect almost before they even move in. And I said, well, there were no rats and raccoons when we moved in. Why are there rats and raccoons? And right when I was talking to her, the child will bring 2 or 3 old people a hamburger and a paper. I went, stop. Number one, that's the problem. Oh, I just was throwing my stuff over because I felt the animals would eat it. Well, you're tracking the animals So if that mama's doing it, with all due respect, the child don't see nothing wrong, that child's gonna become an adult, he or she gonna do it, and it keeps going. But see, my mom and dad taught me, you throw things away in the garbage can, so I don't know how we're gonna fix that.
We had to get
Commissioner, I
together.
want to thank you for coming.
Okay.
I know you got other business you got to take care of. Thank you.
It's a thing we had to get together, we all gonna have to work together to solve this problem.
And I want to apologize for my committee not being able to conduct business today. The two members are not here, as you can very well see. And I'm sure that there's some extenuating circumstances that prevented them from being there. But since I got some citizens here, and I do want to acknowledge my colleagues, Councilwoman Jackson. See, if she was on my committee, we can't conduct business. But anyway, you know, I want to thank Mr. Mayette for availing himself. He's the customer services general manager for Liberty. And I'm sure he was going to be here to field some questions by you the people, and of course the committee members. But I do want to make mention of an ordinance that the city of Selma has, because trash as well as garbage. But we're here today to talk about garbage. Garbage is a problem. It has taken over our city, and it's going to create a health problem if this council don't do something about it. Of course, as the young man that wrote the article in the paper said, that this is not a governmental problem, it's a people's problem. But there's a law that governs garbage service here in Selma. That law is ordinance 0112-12-13. And it says, it is mandatory for all residential premises, family units, occupants or persons, etc., within the corporate limits of the city of Selma, which municipal garbage selection services are made available to participate in and subscribe to the city's garbage system pursuant to the provision of this article, and to pay to the city or its contractor, which is Mr. Mayette, because the city's got out of the garbage business, such fees and charges for the same as are established. There are penalties. Those penalties is set out. Number one, remove the cart from the residential property and discontinue services. That would create a problem, because people would then take their garbage and indiscriminately throw it wherever they want. And this is why I believe we're having a problem, because people are not abiding by the law that I just read. The second penalty is in accordance with 22-27-7 of Alabama Code. The city may bring appropriate criminal charges. In other words, the state of Alabama supports us in these actions against anyone who is in violation of this ordinance and refuse to participate and subscribe to the residential garbage collection system. I heard the young lady speak about somebody's, was it you, Ms. Bennett, talking about your name being retrieved from some garbage?
I just used my name.
Okay. Well, I think there has been an instance of that. I don't know exactly all the facts of it, but I was told, here come one of my committee members. Now we can't conduct business. Come on, Council Lady.
I apologize.
No problem. I think there was some instance out in East Selma where some garbage was thrown out, and some information was retrieved from the garbage, and it's from a person that did not even live in Ward 8. And I think the code enforcement went and cited that person, and they removed that garbage from the premise. Okay, Council Lady, we're gonna go to, can you mind taking minutes? Let me get you some paper.
Mr. LaShort, we get to speak speak, sir?
Yes, yes, hold on. I want you to wait.
Sounds good to me.
I want to officially open this Public Works General Service Committee meeting open. And as I customarily do, is open it up with invoking my Savior. I'm going to ask that we all bow our heads for a brief prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today in the City Hall chambers of the council to conduct the business of we the people. We ask you, Holy Father, to lead and guide us in our deliberation and to help us with whatever problem that is beset by our city. We know, first of all, Lord, that these problems will not be solved immediately. We also know that there will be differences of opinion as to what can and should be done. But nevertheless, we need to come out with a resolution as to what we're going to do. And whatever we do, we're going to always remember to give you the praise, the glory, and honor. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
You know, the way I operate, I let them know that you're ready for them.
Okay. I was talking about the ordinances we have as it relates to garbage, and I got a copy of the contract, and of course that contract speaks to that ordinance. And this lengthy contract that was signed on November the 10th, 2017, under the name of Seacoast, which is now Liberty. This same contract just extends to Liberty with the new contract signed. And section number 18.3, it said the city has previously adopted and will maintain during the term of this agreement, so long as it shall be lawful to do so, a mandatory public participation requirement. And this is why this law was brought into place. So the city of Selma has a mandatory garbage services, but we know for a fact every household don't have a garbage can. And we know this is the reason that a lot of garbage is being taken from people's home and indiscriminately being thrown in and everywhere where no eyes are on them. I do know, Council Lady, I think you could help me with this. I do know under the Evans administration, there was a young lady that he had hired by the name of Jessica Chestnut, who succumbed to death. And I don't know all the facts of her responsibility, but what I heard, her primary responsibility was to identify in the city of Selma who did not have a garbage receptacle. And if they did, then they was going to be cited. Is there any truth to that assessment? Well, Ms. Chestnut succumbed and she died, and of course Mr. Stephen Hendricks was brought on, I guess, to do her job. But then at the time, the administration changed and Mr. Hendricks was redirected to some other responsibilities. Don't know if we're going to be able to have a person, to hire a person to go and to do what Ms. Chestnut was going to be hired to do. Some seem to think that that's not the city's responsibility, Mr. Meyer. Some seem to think if your company would be willing to employ a person that we have no problem with them going around identifying and bringing that information back to us, then we can send our code enforcement officers out there to cite them. Not putting you on the spot, but you know, we have been dealing with this problem for ever since the government was outsourced. And there come other council members. Now we have a full committee member. Council Lady Jackson, you can come on sit up here. You know, I invited the council as a whole to come and to participate.
Sir, can I get your name, please?
Michael Myatt.
And your receipt code?
Yes. Liberty now.
Is that NYATT?
That's correct.
Okay. Come on, Mr. Brooks.
Oh, did you want to, you got a
No,
point?
go ahead.
Microphone in front.
We don't have a mic.
Okay, well, don't worry about a microphone. My name is Stephen Michael Brooks. I live at 600 Dallas Avenue. I'm a resident of Ward 3. You just solved the problem a few moments ago when you read that ordinance. The problem is solved. The discussion is very easy. You put the garbage, household trash back on the water bill. It was removed by a mayor who sits on the water board. It can be put back on the bill by a mayor that sits on the water board. Why not?
Because, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that does seem like the obvious thing to do. But the council tried to do that 8 years ago, and we were told by the folks in Montgomery, I don't know if it was public service, I don't think they owned the public.
But you
anyway, we cannot, because once it became separate from the city and they took out the bond, the debt level, they cannot begin to collect for a municipality with the debt level that they have. It goes into.
You have a contract here. It's a contract. It's
Listen,
a contract
I'm not
person.
trying to argue with you,
And
Mr.
the bottom line is you can go back to these
It would have been
people.
doing that 8 years ago, so you know.
That's 8 years ago. Let's do it today. Let's go back and talk to them today.
Okay. Why don't you call them, because we already did all that. Do you remember Mr. Councilman Randolph? I mean, we spent a lot of time, and until the law changes, and the law hasn't changed. The law says that when a utility or an entity has a debt level, I guess it's to a certain amount or whatever, they cannot take on the further indebtedness or collections or whatever of another entity.
This
That's
city
what the
enters
law
into
says.
partnerships. This city enters into all kinds of agreements with people. I cannot see why the language cannot be drafted by, I've sat here and listened to the attorneys come up here. I cannot see why language cannot be drafted to where you are entering a partnership with our collection company
I don't
here.
see why either. It doesn't make any sense. And if it were up to me, like I said, it would go back on the water bill. That's when it seemed to all.
Then can you not acknowledge that it would be a most advantageous thing to go forward from the city council, working with the collection people and going to the water board over here and sitting down with them where we have folks from city government sitting on that water board and ask them, can they not partner with us to solve this problem that takes an inordinate amount of discussion to no conclusion? Here's your conclusion, folks.
The water
Work
board,
together.
People say the water board is not a governmental agency. The water board is governed by a board of directors and is not even nowhere near being a governmental entity.
They
board of
have
directors-
nothing to do with collecting.
that board of directors is autonomous. They have the authority to do what they want, and they don't have the desire to collect.
That's wonderful, and I'd agree with you that they are autonomous. But you have a person sitting on that water board, my understanding, has a position on that board. Can that person not bring up to that board a partnership with the city to help us solve a problem of which we have talked hours on without coming to a successful conclusion? That conclusion being working with the water board, working with an agency.
Okay, Mr. Randall, let me ask your hands up.
Yeah, let me ask you, what's the benefit, I'm trying to see what's the benefit of going with the waterworks from them collecting their own money?
The benefit would be, as a citizen comes in and goes down to the water board, has the water turned on, in partnership, they can pick up the can or the can can be delivered at that time. In this age of computers, an adjustment made is one little line of computer work that's beyond me, but can be done very easily. So now you have a situation where Right now, if I don't pay my water bill, my water gets shut off. That means for the company, the can gets picked up.
But-
At the end of the month,
Hold on. But if you move it over to the waterworks cannot cut off nobody water because
Yeah.
of no trash. That's what you're trying to say?
Mr. Brooks, I think you need to do a little more research, talk to somebody in the AG's office, because we have, believe me, we have researched this and dealt with this from A to Z. And what you're saying makes sense. In fact, it makes so much sense that we have tried to do it several times, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, ad infinitum. We've talked about it with the League of Municipalities. We had one of their lawyers over here, did kind of the same arguments with them. Let me ask you something. When you were talking about the partnership, were you asking for the waterworks to be helpful with working with the city in getting the garbage can to them and saying, establishing the garbage service?
in this
or
day,
collecting
in
them?
this day and age, when a person goes into the waterworks to have the water turned on, in this day and age of computers and the rapid information to be sent out, one little punch of a key can alert the service that a can needs to be taken to that address.
I think the point is, we cannot cut people water off because they hadn't paid the garbage bill.
You're not gonna cut people's water, or you're not gonna cut people's water off because they don't pay the garbage bill. It's on the bill. They get the monthly bill. They pay the monthly bill.
They can't even, we tried that, and there's some legal technicalities.
I
That's
mean,
why we're not doing
we
it.
just, it cannot, believe me, we've fought this fight, it cannot be done. Now, I will be glad to get another, I will be glad to go through the ropes again and to go right to the League of Municipalities and ask them again, and the Attorney General. But, and I appreciate you obviously know a lot about computers. I do not, and you know how fast it works. Unfortunately, there are some people that should know a lot about computers that do these things that you would think would, that do not know what you know about computers too. But,
If an attempt was made 8 years ago, law and lawsuits and court decisions are fluid. It's like a river.
I understand the way the law works very well, Mr. Brooks, but it
Decisions
has
can be
not
made.
changed, because we get, that's what we have attorneys for, and we get copies. Every time decisions are made, we get magazines and we get publications, and every time a law changes, they tell us, the League of Municipalities tells us, and they say, you know, they send us this little thing saying, new law, like for instance, Smith versus City of Fairfield. You know, we knew pretty much going into, well, I'm not gonna go into all that, but some certain things that we just went through. We know because we know when the law changes.
It is good to know those things, to keep informed. I agree with you 100%. But I also believe that an effort can be made to figure out a way to partner with the water board, city water board and pickup, to get this situation cleared up. I think it can be done.
Mr. Chairman, you may want to ask Mr. Brooks to be on maybe an ad hoc committee to see about that, getting that done.
Well, I'm not gonna move toward that junction right now.
Okay.
That's a little further.
We've done that, been
We've
there,
gone
done
down
that
that
several
road.
times, and I'm not inclined to
Councilman.
Mr. Brooks, I understand your frustration. What I hear you say is that you believe that the citizens that received a copy of their water bill indicating that they have $20 in addition to their water bill, that they also have a garbage bill, and that they would then go in when they pay the water bill and collect it. I was here, I was young during that time, and I'm just gonna be honest, I remember my mom saying, "Huh, here's my water bill and here's $4 or here's $5 on my garbage bill." And I remember our garbage bill getting up as high as $300. If you don't have the money to pay it, even though it's on the bill, they never came and took the garbage. The city was doing it during that time. They never came and got it. And so people realized, even though my mom worked hard and got it paid off, people realized that they're never going to pick up the garbage. And so
even if it was with them, because they're not going to cut off your water because you don't pay it, we're gonna have the same situation, because once they realize that I haven't gotten paid, they're coming to pick up the garbage.
And that was when the city had it.
And that's when the city
Now
had
we
it.
have-
Now, they were gonna pick it up regardless if you paid or not. The city continued to pick it up, but they're not going to do that. I think, the answer is in the ordinance as you stated, but I think the answer is that we already know who doesn't have garbage. Rather than rumbling through garbage, they provide a list. They know the 100 or almost 100 clients that have declined since last year that used to have garbage. Now all we need to do is have someone to go out and see if there's a resident there. If there's a resident there, and they check it off and let us know, we need to send the proper letters to get them to the municipal court. I think it's already in the ordinance. They said, we're gonna pick up your trash. When you pick up the garbage can and you realize someone is still in that home, then at that moment you begin sending the city something saying, we just picked up. I spoke with Mr. Purdy about 3 weeks ago. He told me that they picked up over 60 cans that weekend. And so all 60 of them, if we had a list that would be provided after that weekend, that Monday morning to the city, where we can get those individuals in court because it's already in the law.
Sounds like an excellent plan.
Yes, sir.
And I can tell you from my undercover days, dumpster diving is no fun.
Right.
Okay?
I pick it up.
Been there, done that, it's no fun. But I have to say back to you also on the same venue. In conversations, I also understand that folks go over here to the county courthouse and say, I'd like to put $10 on this ticket. Well, how about these other 4? So you need a little bite to the fight, other than just monetary.
Well,
If
we
you're gonna
gotta
go
do-
that direction.
We gotta do things differently because what we're doing ain't working. And we are continuing to get an infestation of garbage and it's getting bigger and bigger every day. And I think Mr. Meyer can attest to the fact that they are picking up garbage cans on a regular basis, and even that, you know, I don't want to even think of it. They may be looking at pulling out because they're not making the kind of money that they think that they thought they could have. You know, when you got the number of exemptions, we got over 1,000 exemptions, and I think we need to put a cap on that. We need to put a cap because we're being threatened by our contractor not to do business with us, and I can assure you, if this man pull out, you think we got trouble. We don't have more trouble we can deal with.
Thank you very much for letting me make some comments in front of you. I advocate a strong partnership with the water board and our pickup. I think that's the avenue we need to revisit again after 8 years. But once again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
When waste management first came, I think it was a cap on the first 500 residents. There was a cap on
Yeah. Well, I think this committee needs to make a decision
Yeah,
that
'cause-
we need to put a cap on it,
Yeah.
and we're gonna, I mean, if the consensus of this council, this committee that we bring to the council to vote up and down, that we put a cap on the exemption of 500. So Susan, if you put that in the minutes, that we will be, and then, also looking at ways and means of enforcing this ordinance, y'all. We need to get to this from Mr. Meyer. Mr. Meyer, if you can give us an updated list, I'm sure your list is probably old. Right?
Yeah, we can get you an updated list. Office manager can get you an updated list.
Okay. Just hold on, I'm coming to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can definitely get you an updated list. And just see what we got from that. The office manager, she handles that. When I go back tomorrow, then we can.
If you could get that into my hand.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there in did you get a chance to get the contract?
I
Is
got the
there in the
contract.
contract where we were actually supposed to provide that body of that person that was, we were talking about initially under
No.
Evans and Dale Sanders?
No.
So that was something
That was
did,
something,
but
that was
not
something, that was something
required.
Mary Evans was contemplating on doing to help deter people from not having a garbage can.
But it's not required.
It's not in the contract. That's what I was looking for.
Right.
I went through
That's what I didn't see.
I went through this
But they told me
contract tooth and nail because if it had been in the contract, then we were gonna make sure
it was not.
that's what they were gonna do. Ms. Bennett, I'm sorry, then I come to you, Mr.
Number one, I didn't even know about this meeting because it was not publicized and it's a public meeting.
It was sent to the newspaper.
It was sent to the
It
newspaper.
was sent to the newspaper by our president Bowie.
Okay. Well, I never saw it in the newspaper. Never heard it on the radio. A lot of people don't take the newspaper, and I understand that. This is my 5th garbage meeting. And I don't quite understand it. At 2 previous meetings, city officials said that enforcement of this ordinance was the city's responsibility. It's the trash pickups people to pick it up, and they get paid, or supposedly get paid for it. But the enforcement of the ordinance lies within the city. And obviously, the city is not enforcing its ordinance.
Well,
And-
excuse me for not cutting you off, we're talking about garbage, not trash.
I understand
The
that.
the city still had trash.
Okay,
on
garbage,
trash.
household garbage, the
Right.
stuff that goes in the beige colored or black colored or whatever can it is.
Right.
And is picked up once a week, curbside.
Right.
Okay. The city is not enforcing it. And the point being that if the city doesn't enforce it, who is going to?
But this is why Mr. Myers is gonna get us that list, and we're gonna start enforcing.
Excuse me, Mrs. Jackson just said they told them 60 people were picked up one weekend. Has the city gotten the list of those addresses at this time?
I don't think Mr. Myers and his people forwarded it to us yet.
Okay, then we got a failure to communicate between the city and the garbage collection agency.
I'm not gonna put it at that. I think-
No, we have a failure.
I think what we're gonna do is, we got a system in place, and we just need to follow it and make sure that we're doing what our system tells us that we need to do. Mr. Myers he assured me he's gonna get me an updated list.
We have a
of
failure in our
of
system.
Every household that do not have.
Mr. LaShore, if it's not being done, it's a failure.
You got no argument for me, Ms. Bennett, I'm just telling you what
Okay,
what
the other
the
part
facts
to
are
this,
now.
the other part to this is, 2 meetings ago, and this has been months ago, there were, I think, over 600 or 700 people that were seriously delinquent in the payment of their garbage bills.
Maybe
Why
maybe
would you, as the city, not publish those names along with the amounts? And do not say you can't because of privacy issues. They publish taxes that are not collected, the name, the address, and the amount. So if you can publish it for taxes, this is a tax for a service. That's what that is. And God knows, I would probably pay my garbage bill rather than have my name in the newspaper.
Well, once I get this list from Mr. Myers.
No, Mr. Randolph, this has been going on for years now.
Ms. Bennett, and we're not gonna solve it today. And we're not gonna
This-
solve it overnight.
The second,
We got to work on this problem, and that's what we're here to do.
we have
talk
worked
about.
on the problem since we privatized the service.
And we're still working
The
on it.
city, how many years? What year did you say the legislation was enacted? It was in the Mayor Perkins era. He sold all the garbage trucks and he absorbed the
Mayor
garbage
Perkins did not
men
do
in the
that.
other.
Mayor Perkins did not do that.
That's not true.
George Evans sold all the garbage. Mayor Perkins did not. The garbage was under the city, under Mayor Perkins. This
No.
garbage was. I'm telling you for a fact. Garbage was under the city, under
Do
James
not
Perkins.
holler at me,
I'm just
please.
telling you for a fact, Miss Bennett. You hollering at me.
And I am telling you
And I'm
that it
telling
was
you,
under Mayor Perkins.
It was Mayor Perkins had the city, was
Okay.
under, garbage collection was under the city. Miss
One
Bennett.
or the other. We
It was under
had
George
2
Evans.
issues of the
I'm not gonna sit there and argue with you,
Of
Miss
the,
Bennett, and I'm not gonna let you control my
tenure
committee
under
meeting.
Mr.
You're not gonna take over this committee
Evans.
meeting.
And we've
we
had
heard you,
one
we hear
that we're
you.
going.
You're not gonna take over this committee meeting, Miss Bennett.
I'm not trying to take
Yes,
over,
you
I'm
are.
trying to
You're
make
being
my
very
last point.
disrespectful, that's what you are. And I'm not gonna allow you to do it. You might as well sit down, sit down, sit down.
Mr. LaShaw,
Sit down, Miss Bennett.
you are extremely rude in
You
a
are
public
very
meeting.
disrespectful too, Miss Bennett.
And we had a meeting at 3 o'clock,
You are very
and you didn't
disrespectful.
even have your people here.
You are very disrespectful. My people knew
No,
what
I
time it
don't,
was.
because I can't
You're not
stand
gonna run over me,
any more
Miss Bennett.
time.
You're not gonna run over me, and you're not gonna run over this committee. You got the right to come up in the space because
You
I'm
point
allowed.
your finger at me one more time like that, Mr.
You're not-
LaShaw, and you will be sorry.
You need to get out of here. That's what you need to do.
You don't talk to me.
No, I don't know who you
You're
think
not
you are.
telling me what to do.
Miss Williamson, you had something?
I know I probably should know this, but when you speak of the exceptions, I'm not sure about how you will get accepted from paying garbage fees.
There's a process. If Social Security is your only source of income, that would have to be validated by the Social Security Administration. They would bring that information to the city. The city would pass that on to Liberty. Your name would be part of the exception. If there's any other income in that house besides your Social Security, then you're not eligible to be exempt.
And we have about 1,000 of those.
Yes, ma'am. The last report that I have about 1,000, Mr. Myatt could give me the facts about the numbers.
I don't have that right with
We
me,
don't have that regular.
but I'll be able to let you know.
But I know it's more than 500. So I think if we put in a cap of 500, then that will make it more inducing for the contractors to see that they can make money and continue to provide this service to us.
And chances are, those people probably would struggle to pay for their garbage service if they're willing to go and get those documents and follow through the process to be accepted from the, or exempted from this. They probably wouldn't throw trash on the ground. They probably wouldn't throw trash out anyway.
Well, with the
I mean, I'm just glad to know, I didn't know that we had those exceptions.
yes, ma'am, and based on the contract, it's far too many. They're not making no money.
Okay.
So I think, as Mr. Randolph said earlier on the waste management, the cap was 500. Under Liberty, I think it was endless. And I don't think that we need to continue to go that route. We need to reverse back to the 500. And by the way, for the record, y'all heard Ms. Bennett threaten me. I want everybody to know she threatened me. And I don't react, I don't take kindly to threats. Ms. Jones?
Yes, you need to come up there, can I just speak?
You can speak, if you speak loud.
Okay, look, I don't have all the answers here. This is just, maybe, it could maybe help lay the groundwork if we brainstorm together, and I disagree. I think it is the job of the city and the city and our government, and it's the people. I think together we sink or swim, whether it's the garbage or whatever. So we're all, and that's why we're here. We want to work with the city. That's why all of us come to council meetings. We want to help.
And we appreciate it, Ms. Jones.
So I'm kind of brainstorming, and you may correct me if I'm wrong, if it's something we cannot do. But look, yes, in the age of computers, we can get a list of everybody they can merge the list with the touch of key and say, who's getting garbage service? Let's just say, I live at 432 Church. Who's getting garbage service here? Who's getting the water bill at this site? Do they have garbage service? Okay, and then you and I am not a computer person, but you generate a list of who in the city does not have the garbage service. And then, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer what you do with that list, but it might be a beginning of how can we work with those people. Does that make sense to you all?
Yes, Ms. Jones.
That's just in my head.
Ms. Jones, it
I
makes
don't
sense.
have the answer to implementation, but it's a beginning.
It makes sense, Ms. Jones, and we welcome citizen input.
Okay.
But I'm serving notice. We're not gonna be subjected to browbeating. We're not gonna be disrespectful.
But I'm not
No
browbeating.
citizen is gonna come over here and just run over us.
Right, but I'm not a browbeater.
I understand that.
And
I am brainstorming with you,
I understand.
because I preface everything.
And we welcome it.
It is our job together, we all want to work together.
Yes, ma'am, I appreciate
Because
it.
this is your city, but it's our city, and we will all work together to peacefully solve this problem. Now, I don't know if my idea is good. It's just the only idea I can come up with right now, and I think I might have mentioned that to you maybe a week ago.
You did.
And I don't know that it's practical. So
Well-
you may correct me if I'm wrong. And if we have a computer guru in the group, then maybe they can give us some input.
Well, now, there's gonna be further meetings, once we get this list from Mr. Mayette, so we can factually know what we're dealing with, there will be other meetings and the public will be notified.
Okay.
And
And,
if,
and that'll be part of the list, but see, we're gonna have another part of the other people that are not getting it. And I have a compliment for Liberty Disposal, because those guys work hard, they use good manners, they wave to people, they are good ambassadors for your company.
They sure are, and the guy that comes by and picks my stuff up, he gets a cold bottle of water or Coca-Cola whenever I see him come by.
But you don't
Because he's a
slow me down.
gentleman.
Thank you, Ms. Pugh.
Thank you guys for that.
You don't slow me down, do you?
I don't want to drive that truck.
Ms.
Just
Williams,
ideas.
you have some follow-up?
I'll say something to you later, if that's okay.
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to ask, we were getting that information, and to Ms. Bennett's frustration, that we did have a meeting. I've been at least 3. I think Mr. Randolph was the chair of the committee at that time. And you came to one of the meetings and you started sending those documents to the city of Selma. At that time, we had someone in that position that went out with your documentation, and that's how the number started to increase. I think the premise here is going to be contracting with someone. Maybe we can't hire them, but maybe contracting with someone. Maybe Liberty would agree to the 10% of their increase would come back to this contractor position. They'll help us, or 50-50. We need to work something out, because the communication is going to be that liaison between your company receiving the information and this person going out. Because we saw an increase last year when we hired someone specifically to ensure that that was done. There was a great idea by Mayor Evans when he thought of it. The company, the manager out there, Mr. Purdy, actually thought it was a part of the contract, because it was such an intricate part of what you all did and how you work with the city, that I think contracting, contemplating how we can find money to ensure that someone is in a contractor position to do that and to work with them, I think that's going to be the first solution in trying to get it right.
Well, just last year, Mr. Mayette, I think you can attest to this, myself, you, the mayor, and some other officials met down at the Career Center with the same garbage problem. We was looking at ways of bringing in a worker via the Career Center that would do exactly what Jessica Chestnut was hired to do. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get that started. You know, it's not like we just woke up this morning and started thinking about we got a garbage problem. This has been a problem for the last 3 years that we've been dealing with.
3?
Well, since I've been on the
Since
council, I'm just
2008,
speaking from the point I've been on the council. But I know it's been a problem ever since we outsourced it. And nevertheless, it's a problem that we had to solve. And as soon as we get that list from you, Mr. Lyon, I want you to think outside the box, think of ways that you all can help us.
Right.
By affording a person that could take that list and well, think of some ways we can get more participation from the contract that was signed by the city.
I think that, let me just say this, I think that,
Speak up, sir.
yeah, I think that, first of all, good evening. I think that it was it was moving in a positive direction when we did have that person. Because it did eliminate the trash issue. I mean, it started to eliminate the trash issue. Yeah, well, the garbage issue. But when that person was taken away, I don't know the details for whatever reason.
Because she died.
She died, yeah. Okay, she passed.
You're talking about last year.
Right, last year. It was moving in a positive direction, and we were networking together And the list was here and we was kind of getting things done, but I think when that happened, then things started to kind of increase. So I think, I agree with Councilman, Ms. Maya. I think that we need someone, whether it's from the city or from us, or we need to come together. I do agree with that. We need to come together with somebody working on the forefront out in some kind of, touching bases in the residents, trying to get them signed, because it was working. I mean, it was holding them responsible too, so that's what I think.
Like I said, we got two documents. We got a contract with Liberty, and we got an ordinance by the city of Selma that backs up this contract. And our garbage problem is dead in the middle of these documents. And I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this meeting and ask Mr. Mayan if you could get that list of people who have had their garbage receptacle picked up because of non-payment. And also get me the list of those people that are the number, I don't need the name, the numbers that have been officially exempt because of the policy that was set down by the city and the contractor.
Okay.
And then what we'll do, we will meet again after we get this information, and then we'll continue to have a dialogue and to discuss how we need to pursue eradicating this garbage problem in our city. Ms. Candace?
When we first started this, when the city still had it fixed, or you came by the city and paid, there was part of the ordinance that said you could not hand a lease to a prospective tenant until they had been to the city and paid their garbage bill and received an affidavit. Then, if you had rental property, you could give them the lease. And that was back in Mr. Goldsby's administration in the tax and license office. Because tenants had to go to City Hall to pay, there was some sort of teeth in there, just like, it would be if they were going to the waterworks. It was some form of enforcement. If we could figure out some kind of way where they paid their first bill to the city, yeah, we had to swap money somehow or something, but still, that way you would have their names, you could get started with them. I don't even know whether the ordinance has ever been removed. It may still be on there because that's what we did.
No, I mean, there have been there's been several ordinances since this one. It may very well have been in the old ordinance. I don't know. Only thing I know only thing we're dealing with is the current ordinance. Councilman?
And Candy, I don't know if that may have been in an old ordinance. I think Roosevelt was probably doing that really for the benefit of the homeowners.
Now,
because
when we changed hands, I can't remember who had it first, whether it was Waste Away or Seacoast or whoever had it first that had an office here, but you had to pay your first bit of money to the city.
Right, I remember that.
And then when the next company came in, they didn't have an office here. There wasn't even any way to fax information about where they are.
I understand what you're saying, but when you said that they had to come in and show that they had a lease and all that stuff, I think that was really for the benefit of the landlords, because our ordinance says that the property owner is responsible, ultimately responsible. That's what the law says. Whether we like it or not, that's what the law says. And I mean, I don't like it worth a darn, because, I have some property too. But that's just the way it is. And I'll be honest with you, Mr. LaShore, I probably am not a person to be on this committee, because I have been, and I don't know how long have you been on this city council?
18 years.
18 years. I've been on this since 2008, and it was a pervasive issue when I first got on the council. In fact, my very first duty that Geraldine Allen gave me was being, and Monica Newton brought me a tiara and ordained me the garbage queen, because I got the list, the second council meeting we had, I got the list from the waterworks after the waterworks was not, because the bills were going to be paid. This is before privatization was going to be paid at City Hall. But to collect, I was in charge of collections for the old water and garbage bills, it was over $1 million. And you know how much we collected of that? And we put in a lot of it, we collected about 300 and some odd dollars. And so, there's a reason that it's the landlord's responsibility, I assume, and that's because usually it is tenants. I mean, it's people who rent that don't get the things and they don't, yeah, they do. But, they do make the garbage, but
I don't agree with that,
It was,
don't agree with what?
that it's just the tenants who make the garbage.
No, it's not just the tenants who make the garbage, but they're typically the ones that don't get the garbage cans. When I say make the garbage, they're typically the ones that are you ride by and you see where there's a depression in and they just use it as a little landfill and all that. It's gonna be a renter, at least in my neck of the woods. That's how it is. But anyway, we have everything that has been suggested. We've done that. We generated names when it was still with the city, but the city was collecting. We generated names with the first group that came in. We generated names with Seacoast, and now we're doing it with Liberty. Stephen Hendricks did that, and he did, and I think it was making some headway. But here's the bottom line. There is just a faction that is not going to pay, whether their garbage is $5 a month or their garbage is $20 a month. They just don't believe that they should have to pay with garbage, and it's just, that's just it. And I don't know what we do about that.
well, for the record, garbage was outsourced under the Evans administration, not the Perkins administration.
You're exactly right.
I want everybody to be clear about that, under the Perkins administration. And the water company was taking the garbage bills under the Smithman's administration. It was only after James Perkins became the first black mayor that they opted to part company. Now, that's for the record.
Miss
Everything I'm really listening to, I'm gonna say it, we're dealing with a moral and ethical problem among people. Like, she made a good point, I don't care if it's $5, $2, $1. When someone wants to throw it out their window, throw it on the street, they're gonna do it. And it's sad. Like, I'm a business owner, and my mom and I have to throw out garbage of other people's all the time. And as I stated earlier, I have to spend thousands a year to clean up my yards that nobody's on, but people dump. And I don't know how, as a world or a community, we don't deal with moral and ethical, because I watch people throw out garbage, say something to them if you want to, and you be in a fight.
Oh.
I mean, even though they are wrong, and you catch them. And I almost wish there, like with this being a municipality, as far as, let's say collectively as the state of Alabama, and we talk to our Terry schools or whoever, and if they can almost enact a grant or whatever, put cameras in strategic locations, and you actually see these people, and I'm gonna tell you, embarrassment is the worst form of anything. And if somebody, and I hate to say it, what's that, WSFA, they talk about food and restaurants, and they call it clean it up. Let's say if you catch John Doe, and I'm telling you, they can fight all the way. And let's say you catch John Doe, and let's say today's garbage news, and they show Jane Doe, John Doe, license plate 2752841 has just been caught. Trust me, you embarrass folks. They don't like to be embarrassed. They don't like to get caught. And now if we say something as citizens to somebody, you putting us in danger. You'd be surprised how someone's ready to fight you. But if they see themselves on WSFA, WAKA, whatever, or there's a sign, you'd be surprised, because this is a moral and an ethical situation. You can have a garbage can in every person's yard. Guess what? You're going to still have garbage on the streets of Selma and Dallas County. So if somehow each city, we have what, 63, 66, whatever counties, all get together and say, what can we do as a state of Alabama? And maybe, I know it may sound, I don't know if anybody thinks I'm talking stupid, but cameras, let's put it this way, these sure have slowed down she says, I see the little dips, those are the dips I have to clean up.
Baby
around my
landfills, they become baby landfills.
And yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna have to take even beyond what his company does. And it's gonna take a big, because if that little letter somebody read about our beautiful city has cans, potato chips, I watch people throw stuff out. I think it's gonna be bigger than Suncoast, I really do. It's gonna have to be something bigger than that, because even if you put a garbage can in every person's yard, they gonna still put garbage all through our city.
Well, you're right, and I can assure you, cameras will catch them, but as a matter of fact, in my ward, I put up 3, and we caught them.
Right.
But then somebody found out where one of them, well, they stole it.
And but they, I understand,
but
but
the
it's a try, that's all I'm
But
saying.
the word got out, in Ward 6, be careful where you discard your garbage, because it may be a camera.
But guess what? Eventually though, as one camera come 2. As 2 cameras come 3. Then people are not gonna like being caught. No one likes to be caught doing anything.
That's true.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna take time. It's not gonna happen overnight. I respect that. But I don't care if you put a garbage can in every person's yard, because it's only a 1-week take out trash. I know you've seen people with their garbage. Oh, it overflows, it's nasty, it's yucky, it's gross. And that's, I take my garbage when I feel like it, because I have a truck. So like I said, if you charge me or don't, I'm gonna still take my garbage regardless. But I really feel, I look at our beautiful community. I look at certain areas where there is garbage just over by trees or whatever. But if, like I said, even on people's personal homes, I hate to say it, like they're not gonna know where it's coming from. If the community comes together, and let's say John Doe, we know you have a security system on your house. It's pointed in that direction. Can we have that footage over in that direction? That person who threw it away is not gonna know where that camera is on John Doe's house. So you can go to individuals. That's how we solve crimes of murders, rapes, whatever. There's a camera at 1301 Yada Yada Street pointing over there. You can go over and say, you know what? That's a garbage, and I wonder if that person has a camera. It can be done.
Yeah,
We have to come
most of
together.
us have cameras up.
Don't
I've
forget,
got
and
some of
don't
them
forget,
too, yeah.
you can put signs out, thinking trashing here, smile, you're on candy.
I love that.
By the way, sir,
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
you have wonderful personnel
He does.
out at your office here. I've dealt with them several times, and they were right there.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and conclude this meeting, but I can assure you, there will be a follow-up meeting once we get certain data, and we welcome you all's participation. But I'm making it clear, we're not gonna be disrespectful, we're not gonna be abused, verbally abused by nobody. This is a problem that we all can solve, and we can do it. So, once again, and there will be notification to the media when the next meeting is. And I would try my best to make sure everybody, media gets a notice as to when the next meeting will be, so that you all could be sure that this the time of the meeting, but it will be in the chamber.
And we do appreciate everybody's working to try to find
Yes,
solutions.
we do. I want y'all to know that. We do.
And it is frustrating.
It
It's
is.
frustrating for all of us, because it seems like there's no end to it, but
Thank y'all for coming.
thank you so much.
Get that.
I will, I definitely.